Welcome, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting of the Enfield Select Board to order. Attending from my left, okay,
Kate Plumley Stewart.
Tracy Young.
John Klug, Eric Olson.
Alice Kennedy.
Thank you. All right. We'll go ahead and get started with the approval of minutes from February 18th, 2024.
I make the motion to approve this consent.
Second.
Are there comments or corrections for the minutes?
Well done.
Yeah. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Votes are approved. All right, we're right on to board reports. Want to start tonight?
The Enfield Village Association has added a board member. If she accepts, Lindsay Smith has been invited to be the next member of the Eagle Board. Exactly. Lindsay Smith is the next member of the Eagle Board. We're all very happy. Our ranks are thin and everyone's pulled in a lot of different directions. So we're always looking for volunteers and new board members who want to get involved in any of the activities that the Enfield Village Association does throughout the year. And then with regard to the Heritage Commission, I brought the ask from the select board to the Heritage Commission regarding the, my mind just went blank,
79D.
regarding 79D. And I shared that they should review 79D and add. They were enthusiastic, look forward to the challenge. And I think the first task will be wrapping their heads around how to effectively do an inventory of the barns in the town. So they have some precedent to work off of and look forward to learning from what other towns have done and how to do this in the most effective and efficient way possible. I think it's going to be a good partnership.
Questions for Alice? Okay,
There was no conservation commission meeting since our last meeting where I gave you guys a report. The next one is the first Thursday in April at 7 PM. Did you have anything to add, Shirley? Anything?
No, it's done.
Thanks.
Chris,
The Energy Committee discussed the warrant articles, which we have on the town meeting coming up. So that we all were very clear on who would make the presentation on town meeting day, which will happen. And also discussed briefly the Community Resilience Assessment Plan, which is going to have a meeting on May 29th, of which Marta Cerrone, who is the chair of the Energy Committee, will be on the steering committee for that. That's all I have.
nothing to report tonight. The planning board met last week. I had one public hearing. The owner of the Copeland block is looking to change a couple of the floors over to residential. They're going through the process to do that. They need a special exception and some other things, but looks like they're moving forward with transitioning some of that building into residential usage. There'd be no change to the restaurant or that level at all. But the upper floors in the basement, they're considering residential uses, so.
Thank you. Just a quick update on staffing. We have two groundskeepers positions still available. So if anybody knows of anybody that would like to be a groundskeeper, applicants can be presented to, or resumes can be presented to Jim Taylor. We're working on the recreation director position and transition right now. We did receive approximately 80 applications for that position. I went through those and passed 20 of the most qualified candidates onto the Recreation Commission. And I asked them to rank their top 5. They've gotten those back to me and I've scored them, and we're down to a list of 4 to 5 that we're going to be looking for interviews in the near future. And we'll continue working with that list until we find somebody. And then, as you know, we have a opening right now for police officer. Without advertising, we've already received several applications, one of which is a certified officer. So we'll be looking through those and going through background checks and the things that we need to do as we move forward. So just, I guess, kind of good news knowing that that's open and we're already receiving applications. So, Whitney Hall and Public Safety Building update. We're still working through the finishing steps of Whitney Hall. Those of you that have been in there have seen the stairwells are still waiting for some of the back ordered carpeting and rubber for the stair treads, and the elevator is almost completed, but not quite done. We are waiting for some phone line stuff and code compliance issues that the state's mandating at this time, but I think we're getting really close to that being done. Another small item. Oh, and other small items that are going, and they're still working on the top floor a little bit, but most of that's back ordered lighting and some of those things. But other than that, the building's working fairly well. We did have a roof leak last week that we identified with the heavy snow and some of the melting. Red Loaf was able to quickly identify the issue and put a temporary fix on, and we'll have the roofers back out for a more permanent fix a little later in the spring. And then, other than that, we're continuing to fine tune many of the systems, and we recently activated the security system, and we'll be getting more codes for that distributed throughout the town as we figure out who needs that and who doesn't. Public Safety Building is still moving along well and is ahead of schedule with a tentative substantial completion date of early May. Most of the building has been drywalled and taped, and the polished concrete floors are being finished this week. Primer and paint is scheduled to be started soon. As you may have seen, most of the exterior siding's complete. They're finishing up a little bit there, and we are starting on finish work in the apparatus bay. So things are coming quite well. They think in a couple weeks here after we start painting, we'll be looking at putting cabinets and those types of things in. That project's moving along quite well. The ZBA update there, they granted the variance to the Optimistic Brewing that came through the select board first. So those variances did get approved, and we're working right now on just crafting the short-term lease and getting those things put together. So that project's still moving forward. The planning board has approved a contract for the Valley Lake Sunapee Regional Planning Commission to do the New Hampshire HOP 2 grant to work on the zoning regulations. And then they're also going to be having a input session and community forum on Saturday, April 26th at the community building, or if available, we may do the Whitney Hall third floor space. On a community development front, just a few things that are real in the early stages, but Jim Kelleher has purchased some land from Tim Taylor along Pillsbury Street right there along the river, and he's interested in possibly building several 3-bedroom condominiums in that area. So that's going to be a continued thing moving forward, and we'll have to go through the planning process and those things, but that's kind of on the plate. Same thing, 212 US Route 4, former Hawthorne property, was purchased by Tom Hersey. There's 5.5 acres there with water and sewer, which could be good for housing or businesses. And they're working right now on an engineering plan just to see what the potential uses of that could be. As was stated, the Enfield Community Resilience Building event approved by the select board is scheduled for May 29th at the community building. And they're right now putting a list of invitees and things together to get more details on that. And then one thing I think is kind of exciting, on June 6th, Enfield will be hosting the New Hampshire Planners Association Spring Conference. This will be at the community building and will feature Lebanon and Enfield projects, and it'll include a walking tour of our main street and some of the things we've been doing here in Enfield. So it's nice to get out all the hard work we've been doing to the entire state. From the police department, officers will be participating in Read Across America this week. They have scheduled several readings with classes at EVS and local daycares. Also this week, they'll be working with a local Girl Scout troop. Officers will be working with them to learn about honesty, fairness, and helping your community. And then just to kind of follow up some of the parking stuff we had, they've had with the increase in snowstorms and the pilot of storage or snow storage that we've had, the PD's increased parking issue calls. They've educated several residences on Main Street regarding public spaces and the proper way to remove snow from these spaces. So they are out there working on those issues on a daily basis. From DPW, all of Enfield's roads will be posted tomorrow at the 6-ton weight limit, starting March 4th. The state will be posting Shaker Hill Road at 13 tons on the same date. So, US Route 4, New Hampshire 4A, and Main Street will not be posted. The McConnell well has been tested 4 consecutive times for uranium. It's coming back with a average microgram of 30.9, which is 0.9 micrograms over what the acceptable limit is. Just wanted, there will be notices going out about this, but we wanted to let people know that we use the McConnell well. It serves as a backup when we have times of fires, water main breaks, drought, or other things when we need water. And we do blend that water with the other water, which brings the levels down significantly. Also wanted to let the select board and other people know that the McConnell well contributed to less than 10% of the water pumped in 2024 and averaged about 5% of the water used from 2022 to 2024. So we do use it, but we use it very sparingly, but those letters will be going out so people know. DPW hosted a Granite State Rural Water all-day training on understanding your motor controls. We had 17 operators show up to take the class. Both of our Enfield water operators attended it. It was a really good class and a great time for networking with that many water operators in one room at a time. And then the sewer main repair lining project is scheduled to begin in the spring. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce their name, but we have a well-known or an internationally known firm that's doing the work that specializes in trenchless reconstruction of pipes. So that's my town manager report.
Okay, any questions or comments for Ed?
I was just wondering on the interviews in the past, one of the questions we got when we had around for the recreation job, and also another one, I was asked if people were given like a form letter being like, thanks for applying, but we've moved on with someone else. Do we do that?
Sometimes we do. I don't know if we'll reply to 80 different candidates, but
I mean, it seems, we're in this kind of atmosphere where like the candidate ghosts some people, the town, like not the town, but, employers ghost people. I know with 80's a lot, but I also understand that there are probably gonna be some people who really think they have a chance here who are local, and if we don't at least tell them one way or another, I think it's harmful for them to read later on, like, hey, I wasn't chosen and I got no answer. So I guess I'd like to set an example of maybe trying, and even if it's just a form without personalization to let people know. I thought that was a fair ask for the last time.
Any other comments? Questions? All right. We will move on to the business of the evening, starting with cybersecurity around potentially transitioning to a .gov web address URL. Go ahead. Ed, you want to just sort of run through it a little bit? Yeah.
yeah, I was contacted, I think the company, I don't know if I put it on here, was SCF, that's been doing a lot of the work for the state, but the state of New Hampshire has created an Overwatch committee, which is working on cybersecurity issues across the state. They're releasing some grant funding, working with the Department of Homeland Security, US Cybersecurity, Infrastructure Security Agency, and Primex is our insurer. And the grant is to move everybody to the kind of the .gov platform. So we would get new email addresses, new web addresses, the .gov platform's a lot more secure. You actually have to go through an application process to be able to get a .gov address. So, this grant would allow us to transfer Enfield to .gov. I took the liberty to go ahead and apply for enfieldnh.gov because during our webinar, we searched that and it was available. Part of the criteria is you do have to have NH in your name. So I figured as simple as we could get would be Enfield NH. So I have applied for that. We'll see if we get that domain name, but it is available at this time, or at least as far as we can tell. And then this money comes for not only making the transition, but they're helping some people beef up some cybersecurity, and it also replaces letterhead, business cards, those types of things that are, I'll call them soft costs that go along with the transitions. It looks like it'll be a low to no cost switch for the town if we decided to go this way. But I'd like to come before the select board and ask if we could go ahead and apply and accept this grant to move forward in this direction.
And make a motion to authorize the town manager or their designee to apply for and accept a grant to transition the town of Enfield to a .gov web address, and further authorize the town manager or their designee to sign all documents and take all steps necessary to complete the transition.
Second.
Is there discussion?
No, I saw that Lebanon, Concord and Manchester have already moved.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It also gives, I mean, I've always been surprised when towns don't have .gov stuff. It makes, I've always wondered about that.
It's a pain to type in Enfield.nh.us.
Well, no, just from when I'm looking for a government site, I look for a .gov address.
Sure, yeah.
So, no, and this is a great way to get it done, and it will help us sort of streamline all of our cybersecurity stuff.
Yep.
And there's no other comments?
Thank you.
Question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right. Okay, community nursing contract. There's been some change there, so why don't you just sort of restate what's in the letter? Yeah.
So as you know, we communicated with you about a month ago now, I think, that Lebanon, their nurse that was providing our community nursing had resigned. They looked at the overall data and the use of the project and what they would like to do, and they decided that really the data was supporting that the logistics of running it through Lebanon like it did not work very well. So I met with Chief Wheatley, talked to him about, the usage of the program here in Enfield and what his thoughts were, if it was something that we should continue doing, and he definitely recommended that. Soon after that, I sat down with Kristen Barnum, who is online. If you guys have any questions for her, she works with the Community Nurse Connection, and she helped get this stood up in Enfield to begin with. Working with her and talking through, she also agreed that this was, there was some good usage here. It was a service that was worth Enfield continuing to look. And then we also had the fundraising money for it. So working with her, we developed a model. I already wrote a contract that we could use moving forward, and she helped us look, and we talked with many different nurses, and actually me, Emily, and her interviewed 2 different community nurses that were interested in working in Enfield today. And so it looks like a project that we could continue moving forward. What I'm asking the select board today is to authorize me to just move that contract from Lebanon to contract directly as an independent contractor with a community nurse that would pick up the contract for the same amount or less than the city of Lebanon was charging us.
There. Questions or comments from the
Well,
board?
you're saying that would have no funding impact upon the town?
No, there's gonna be a little bit of work we have to do because of the way Lebanon charged a year behind. This nurse will want to be paid up front, but we'll figure that out on the budget side. There's no tax impact because we have about 2 years of funding left in the fundraising account. So it'll just be, figuring out the right way to account for it and pay for it, and then to work with Community Nurse Connection and our contracted nurse to stand the service back up.
And our hope is that that fundraising process would continue.
My hope is that that fundraising process would continue, and so we will be talking to you about that. I think there may be either a different charge for the community nurse committee that we had set up, or maybe even a dissolution of that committee and then a volunteer committee to help with marketing and fundraising, but we can have that discussion in the future. I think right now it's important to figure out what direction we're gonna go, whether we're gonna provide this service in the future, and if we do, how do we make that transition? And I think this is a really good option for doing that.
And what makes me a little nervous is we may be entering a political stage in which, some health funds disappear, and I wonder if that's gonna put more pressure on the community nursing program.
It really depends, because the community nurse, and I can let Kristen talk to this more, but it's not a person that goes in the house and provides healthcare.
Mhm.
It's more of an advisory type role that goes in, looks at the healthcare that's being prescribed, makes sure the person understands it. So it's really that middle ground person to help. They're not actually providing the healthcare.
Good, thank you.
The insurance, I assume they carry their own insurance because they're a contractor. And then just my feeling on the committee is that we appointed them and to do something, and then it's a pivot. So I would feel most comfortable reconsidering it, but also out of respect for them, having that discussion, because it probably doesn't feel great to hear, hey, we're not gonna go this way and we're giving you a new charge. So I'd almost like to see it like them thanked and then potentially reconstituted in a different manner. Just as my feeling on it, because I think the work they did is very important.
Mhm.
But anytime you substantially change a charge for a committee, or maybe it can be, Ed and I
Yeah.
talked, an ad hoc, just wanted to toss that out there, because it's not because we don't think that they are nice people
No.
and did hard work, because they did a phenomenal job
Yeah.
fundraising.
No, and I can definitely say the work that they were doing in looking at the data and moving this forward, we were going into an unknown and, getting the data from Lebanon and them, and we will continue. I have a meeting with them this next month, so we'll have some more information from this, but having that data and the work from them moving forward was really a big part of figuring out whether this is a successful program or not.
And one of the challenges for this, of course, is sort of this interim period. What's the expected sort of timeframe if we were to contract with someone independently?
Well, that's part of the reason why we've
Right.
just continued moving forward.
Yeah.
I've been continuing moving forward as if we were going to do this, knowing that I was coming to the select board today. So as I said, we interviewed 2 nurses today. I
Yeah.
think we know who we would want to go with if you guys would authorize this move. And we can start the contracting background process and stuff this week, and hopefully within a couple weeks to have somebody fully vetted with the background check and ready to start providing services.
Who would be supervising this contract?
Well, I would be overseeing the contract. Kristen from Community Nurse Connection would definitely be helping, looking at data, those types of things. And then Emily's our staff contact for,
So Emily would remain in place as far as reviewing
yeah,
this ongoing status of the contract.
yeah, and working with the community nurse to help, get the connections with patients and those types of things that she's already been doing with the.
Did you write that in your job description?
It's under and all other.
Financially, you said you think we have enough for 2 years. So 2 years from now, in other words, we're all set for 25 and 26. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, I believe we have.
At current levels, serving the current number of,
Yeah, we'd be contracting for 10 hours a week. So everything.
Which is what it was.
10 hours
Right.
a week. And
so if necessary to fund it, we'd be looking at the calendar year 27 under present conditions.
that's what it looks like right now, but we also have a $2,000.
I know we have
donation on here.
$2,000 that we
So
wanna
if
look at. So
continue getting
hopefully-
money in, we'll go maybe possibly past that.
Yeah.
I have a question. So the way that it was set up previously, like the understanding was that after some point, we would evaluate the data and the necessity and how it's going, and how does this pivot affect that? And like, when is the timeline for this program to come before us and be like, here's how it's going?
Well, I think we had talked about a 2-year program window. We have the first year data and I think, I mean, from me looking at it, and we'll be talking about it with the community nurse committee as well, that I actually think we saw a few more people than I thought we were gonna see. So I think we're headed in the right direction, but I think coming back before the select board will probably be in about a year from now.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that we had formally said that we were gonna do, so we should just make sure we follow through with that formally.
Yeah, we were gonna do a 2-year look at this and we wrote with Lebanon, we were gonna write 2 1-year contracts so we could, you know, if we got to the end of the first year and it just wasn't working, we'd have
How long would you write this contract for?
this would be a 1-year contract, the remainder of 2025. And then we can have discussions whether we continue with the nurse we have under the contract and the relationship we have, or whether we go out like an RFP type thing, looking to see who's wanting to do this.
And I think that discussion on future funding and fundraising is something that I'm really keen at looking at. You know, I worry, especially in our current economic climate, about potentially adding this to a budget. And I guess I would like to be very cognizant of trying to pursue alternative funding options before considering turning to taxes.
Well, I like the timing that we'd finish up 25, get a year from now. We'd have 2 years under our belt in terms of results, for example. That would give us all of 26 to feel comfortable about the funding, which would then need to begin in 27 if it had to be funding through the town.
We have some report, public, David?
To follow up on Kate's first comment, in terms of respect for the committee, I was surprised to talk this morning to the leader of the community committee that got this started and brought it to the town, and that she had no awareness that this was coming before the select board, and their last meeting had been canceled. So there's been relatively little communication about and awareness on their part of what all has been going on. I think the committee members are owed more respect than that in terms of what they've been contributing. And I'm supportive of what they've been doing. They're making slow progress. I think that would be expected. It really does, if you want to have community members involved in important issues like this, it's important to respect them and to involve them in the communication links, and to not blindside them.
Okay, thank you, April. Jean?
Jean Patton, so I have a couple, sort of like my community hat and my budget hat here. So my community hat, this nurse actually was servicing my mother, and I more than appreciate that. That's one thing off my list. I don't have to constantly go up there. The thing I was a little disappointed in the overall, how this came out, was my mother got a phone call, and I apologize if I'm not getting correct information from a 93-year-old. Got a phone call from the nurse and said she wouldn't be coming anymore. That was it. No, sort of,
Great.
explanation of what's next or what's gonna happen, or, you know, it was like, okay, it's just kind of stopping. And of course, my mother, is people in the elderly gatherings. Wow, I think something must have happened with the city of Lebanon, or, whatever. Well, then when I read the article in the paper, then I understood what was going on. So my budget hat on this, my concern is, and I'm all for this program. I think it's a great program that provides a lot of things. I too don't want to see that end up in a line item in the budget. My other questions would be, just thinking about subcontractors, is this person aware they're paying their own taxes? Is this person going to know they have to provide their own liability insurance? Who is this person going to report to if there does become any issue? And we all know that sometimes things can start out as a minor thing and turn into something else. who's going to be overseeing this whole thing? So that's sort of my concern, that before, you know, I'm sure there was someone back in Lebanon that these nurses reported to. So now that it's in our own court, I'm just sort of wondering kind of how this is gonna be planned out. So those are my questions.
Thank you, Gene.
So the independent contractor part, the having to provide their own insurance, that's all written into the contract, so when they're coming on board, they'll be aware of all that. We've had some discussions about that as well already. And then for reporting, as I mentioned, yes, the Chief Wheatley worked with the employees because they were actually employees of Lebanon that we were contracting, so there was a manager over them. This would be a direct contract with us, so you know, we've already talked to both the nurses we talked to today that Emily would be the primary point of contact, and then also have my contact information if there's a question that Emily's not available to talk to. And then through Community Nurse Connection, there's connections to board members they have with medical expertise and stuff. If it's more of a medical question, it's not an administrative question that we can answer. So
And would the contractor be using I forget the software, but the Community Nursing Connection had sort of a,
yeah, they'll be reporting software.
they'll still
that
be
they
using
can
that
use.
software, so we'll still capture all of the data.
Yeah, through Community
Yeah.
Nursing Connection, they'll be provided an iPad to collect data. One external cost from this that we may have that we talked about today was getting a town-owned cell phone number that would be hooked to the town that we could give. And then if we switch contractors in the future, we don't have to worry about redistributing phone numbers to people.
I'm just looking at our purchasing policy in terms of, standard operating procedure. Do we keep a copy of their insurance on file?
Yes, we would.
Okay. It just occurred to me, I had no idea if we even have that written into here, but
Yeah, we keep that with all of our contractors.
I'm not sure we have that. I'm not picking, but I was like, oh, I don't even know if we have that incorporated into our purchasing policy, but when we're looking at financial policies, we could probably scour through it and see.
And also following up on one of the things Gene said, is there a way to sort of get the list from Lebanon and communicate to them to all of the current Enfield residents who are
Yeah.
getting? what's this-
Kristen, can you speak to that? Cause I know Kristen was gonna be
Okay,
helping us do some follow-up with the people that were in the program.
yeah,
Not only the current people, but some of the past people to see if it's somebody that we need to go visit and reestablish care with.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. The contact information is all in the system, in the Red Cap system. So once the contract is approved, we'll set up that person as a user. And I can work with them to show them how to contact all the 33 folks that have received care to reintroduce the program to them should they have needs.
In the interim, can we take those 33
Yeah.
people and write them some kind of nice, easy to follow note or letter, or come up with a standard conversation that I think should be followed up in writing?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you get older, you don't always hear or remember as well. I'm not picking on but I have days where I don't. It's just saying, you know what, we've gone through this transition. It was unexpected. You will be getting contacted
Right,
again, and this is our process, so that we are laying out what the expectation is. And I think, you know, this was not opportune. It was at the beginning of the year in the middle of budgeting season. And then unfortunately, the meeting that had to be canceled was in the middle of school vacation.
Right.
You know,
it happens.
it happens. It was not ideal and it's not an excuse, but it was bad timing, and I think we owe them something.
Yeah, I
So
think
for
it'd be,
privacy reasons, the names and addresses are not shared with anybody from town. You know, however, I would be happy to use our IT consultant if you want to draft a letter to get those out. But Community Nurse Connection does not share for privacy reasons the names and addresses of those who got care.
Right, of course not, but it seems like you would be able to communicate with them. I mean, somebody figured out how to call them and obviously give them some information, so we should be able to figure this out.
I think a
I'm
letter drawn
sorry,
up.
was that a question for me?
Says
No,
town of
it's a
Enfield
statement. I think if you
Could be
can contact
distributed
them.
by them.
you can do it again.
Yeah, I'll work with you, Kristen. We'll figure out how to get them some sort of communication.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good, this is what happened, this is what the path forward is. It'll be 3 or 4 weeks or something, and then you'll get a call from a new person.
This also gives us
Yeah.
this a learning moment where we would have it in place if this happened again. I mean, if our nurse gets hit by a bus, which God forbid,
Well,
we have to be able to know what to do. You know, these are people who are elderly in need of services and, you know, I know they're not like maybe the be all and end all of services, but that connection is important.
yeah, and I think Kate's right, something in writing can be helpful for other family members. Because they can either save it or share it or whatever. It's easier to bounce around. What do you think?
I would also follow up on that rather than 3 or 4 weeks, some sort of interim contact or something more urgent than that would be useful. These are frail
Yeah.
people.
I understand. I think the challenge is if the community nursing program doesn't have a nurse to give a contact for, then the community nursing program just practically can't give
So
that.
they
nurse.
may say,
Yeah.
contact Hitchcock
Right.
Emergency
Yeah.
Room or something
Yeah,
like that.
okay,
Like some sort of,
Yeah.
interim.
Yeah, just to make it clear that 911 is the caller or whatever.
And we're also routing people into the program right now through our office, I believe, in part, right? Is that Emily? They're not just calling the community nurse and setting themselves up. Like, do they get referral?
So yes, there can be self-referrals or they can be referred from other areas in the community such as the emergency clinics, things like that. They can refer to the community nursing program. And I think that's one of the
So-
things that we need to work out as far as communications so that we can revamp how we kind of need to understand the direction so we can revamp what those communications are presented on the town website so that we can be redirecting people appropriately.
So right now, if somebody calls into community nursing or into the public safety office, all of those people know that we don't have someone. And could say, hey, unfortunately, and at least we aren't giving them bad information. They're not going to nowhere.
Has that been funneled through you
Or
previously?
no, the referrals have gone to MIA.
Right. Any other? Good, sure.
Not to make any more work for anybody. But I'm also thinking that this is a new program. You know, you've had some services, you've had a snafu of a drop person and a lot of good questions from the board about what is this program? Where are we going with it? You have a new person coming on board. Is there a reason to sit down as a board or some format? I'm not telling you what to do. But is there a reason to reevaluate this right now and say, before we have a new person, before a lot of this information about what we did already do gets lost in the shuffle? What are the strengths? What are the needs? Where do we go from here? How do we start off strong with this new person? So they're not like coming in fresh to something that was happening sort of maybe partway, maybe, you know. It's just a suggestion that I think it might, if you take the work at the beginning now, it might iron out other problems that you might have down the road. So just a suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Emily?
Actually, just to add a huge thank you again to Kristen Barnum for stepping in and stepping up to help really problem solve the situation. And I think that with the data collected from RedCap, we will have that moving forward, which is nice that even though there will be a shift, we're still going to have a consistent set of data that can be comparable from our first year to our second year. And I know that she can be an excellent resource in kind of understanding how we can use that to convey some of these strengths and some of the needs that have been fulfilled and that we can kind of continue to look at for the Enfield community.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback right on top of that, you know, working with other communities across our area, there's already a model of how this can and should work. And, you know, we were reliant a little bit by contracting with Lebanon that they were running their program and we were using ours. You you know, it's gonna be a shift and a little bit of a change, but there's already models out there to follow, so we'll be following those models.
Anyone,
I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager or their designee to negotiate and enter a contract with a nurse to provide community nursing services to the residents of the town of Enfield at a rate equal to or less than the approved 2025 Lebanon contract, and further authorize the town manager or their designee to sign all documents and take all steps necessary to complete this transition.
second,
No, second.
any discussion of the motion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good discussion. Good ideas. All right, town clerk's office hours. Moving back to Whitney Hall, we have some transitions in the office hours, and I'll just remind everybody, so this is an interesting topic. The town clerk controls in the end, town clerk controls the office hours of the town clerk, and I think we should all be very appreciative that she's taken all the effort to get everybody's input and to get everything from everybody as we go forward. So, anything else before we start?
No,
No.
go ahead and start. In your packet is, some information on my memo, some of the data that we pulled from the ClerkWorks system, looking at the customers that we serve. The input that I put in your data is, Tuesday nights, who we serve, and then it's broken down by customers per evening, and then customers with new vehicles. Those are the ones that come in. As you guys may remember, we talked, and I can let Wendy explain how things work a little bit more, but at this point in time, new vehicles and new plates for vehicles are the only items that people actually have to come into the office. We have multiple ways to register your vehicle. I'll just use that one if you just need to renew. You know, there's online options, there's mail options, we have a drop box. There's many different ways to get that done. With that, we've also been talking since probably before October. I know we were making the transition to maternity leave and how we were going to work the office through those timeframes. But we've been talking about long-term hours when we get back to Whitney Hall. Things are changing quite a bit, the way the office is divided, with the police department moving away from being right next door and police cars not in and out of the office all the time. So there was a little bit concern for safety in the evenings, and then just trying to find ways to work through multiple discussions. And I don't want to go through every iteration of times we looked at, but we looked at everything across the board with the clerks. We even looked at modifying town office hours to have maybe longer days, 4-10, something like that, to give times outside. And nothing just seemed to work right. So coming through this after lots of discussion, I'll say we feel, but it was presented to me to go to an 8 to 4 Monday through Friday for the town offices and town clerk to have some level even hours. Some of your data doesn't show that, you know, we get a lot of frustrated and confused customers that come in Tuesday mornings when they're closed, and we have to turn people away. And so we have that. I think having a consistent hour bank is a really good thing. The 8 to 4 hours also adds 4 hours of time that the clerk's office is open, which makes it a little bit easier for all residents to come in and get some work done. But it is a change from what we may have been used to for many years. We did switch to Monday. I'm going to say Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, being closed on Wednesdays during maternity leave in the last few months here at La Salette, and then over here to Whitney Hall in the office. And I guess Wendy can explain the one concern she got, that the lady went away happy when she found out they'd be open on Wednesdays again pretty soon. But we've received no complaints at all in the town offices. So it was something we've been talking through, and we think it would be better overall hours for not only the residents, but the staff of the clerk's office to move to a Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
Anything else you'd like to?
Well, when the office hours changed back in October, one of the comments was that you didn't feel that it was projected correctly to the public or enough. So one of the things I, like to hear from the board maybe is how going forward with this, how you would like to see it. I mean, we have the website, we'll do listserv. It'll be on all the renewal notices that we send out by email. I don't know how else you'd want to do it. We'll announce any changes at town meeting. If there's some other type of thing you want to do that, I mean, postcards cost money. People don't necessarily always read them. So it's one thing that I wanted to get, feedback from you guys maybe, and, you can always email me with ideas.
I'm gonna give the same feedback I gave last time, which is that just because people refuse to complain to you guys doesn't mean they won't say something to us. And I reject the fact that there was absolutely complaints, because we complained both during budget committee meetings, which are a legal public town meeting, and people spoke up during select board, and those people count. So just because they didn't send it to your email or individually doesn't mean that what they said to us when they expressed concern does not count as a complaint. And I mean, I've had this conversation with you. I had a couple more today. I think the bigger issue to me is eliminating this, whether people like to work at night or not. There are professions that they can't just get out of work. I know that people think anyone can take time off, but in a factory setting, I can tell you, the shop floor managers are not always lovely. And I don't think anybody can just come trotting in. It's 8 to 4 that's being proposed. And really, I did some work and took a look at the divide between towns. So basically, cities do this no evening hours thing, and small towns like ours do evenings and weekends. And so are we a city yet? Are we going to be a Hanover? Are we a Lebanon? Are we a Manchester? Or are we a Deerfield? Are we a Francistown? Are we a Canaan? New Boston goes till 7. Ware goes till 7. Deerfield, Chester goes to 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Candia does 4 to 7 Tuesdays and Thursdays. I realize you get to set your hours. I know people don't want to do it, but I think it's a tough one. And I've certainly listened to the people who said something to me. I've asked them to send them to you. Obviously, they aren't going to do it.
I would say that I've gotten a number of expressions of concern and the hopes that we will return to at least one day a week in which there are evening hours. Because people say, it's so hard for me to get there, I have to work.
But again, the reason why somebody would need to come in if they're working other hours is that they had a new car.
Mhm.
And realistically, people don't buy a new car every single year.
I think a lot of people are so used to doing everything in the office. They're not used to doing it. They don't do stuff on the internet, perhaps,
Right.
in other fashions.
And then we still have the mail, the night drop.
Yeah.
What have you guys done to collect emails? Because I can tell you up front, you didn't have my email. So in the past, I didn't get an email notice. So have you guys been proactively collecting emails and being like, oh, hey, I see we don't have an email on file for you, and asking for it?
Yeah,
Because
that's what we do.
I had to say that and say, hey, I don't get an email. And so if I had to, I can't be the only one.
So we do advertise on all the monthly newsletters about saying that we transitioned from only email noticing 2.5 years ago. It was basically when they were starting to have changes in the post office, we had Mailings Unlimited do it, but because they were considered bulk mailing, it was low priority of the post office, so they stopped. They stopped delivering them in a timely fashion, so it was a waste of taxpayers' money really to be producing those letters. And that's when we transitioned for a full year with the regular mailing notices to supply us with your email address, and we'll add it to your profile and send out emails. So we do that, and we do capture them as they come in.
And I will say, if they missed you, I hear them all day, every day, asking people for their email.
I think it went the opposite for me. I would like, hey, why don't you have my email? Especially, since I'm sitting here.
Alice?
So I think the last time that we talked about this, I began to understand that it was like a foregone conclusion. And I understand that it's your prerogative to set the hours. But I do just want to be cognizant of the inflexibility of people's work schedules. I know that I've spent a lot of time in the town clerk's office for help with things that I'd never done before related to being a first-time homeowner, buying a new car for the first time, a lot of other really complicated things that I lean heavily on the town clerk's office for. And, you know, I hope that we can be supportive to the citizens in our community. And our largest employer, or one of our largest employers, is a healthcare system, which is like notoriously inflexible. And I hope that we could like, I don't know, somehow be like a release on the pressure cooker of life. And it's just like one more thing that like either there's an evening or like a Saturday morning that we could somehow accommodate people who are like just trying to make it all work.
And you guys in the public haven't seen these numbers, but you know, we're seeing, so they gave us 2023 numbers. It says 2023 customers per evening, an average of 9.5 people. And that's the customers with new vehicles in 2023, it's 2.2. So the insinuation is, of course, that you could do it online if you're an online capable person. Those numbers went up in 2024. They're an average of customers per evening, 11.7 customers per evening, and 2024 customers with new vehicles were 4.3. So those are both increases. They're statistically insignificant data-wise, but they're still an increase because we're not that big of a town. But I think it was 50 weeks you're open, right? Because we don't use 52 weeks in a year when we're trying. That's 585 people who came in. That's not a small number of people to me. So I worry about what it says. And then the question to me is, if we think that time isn't a good use of time, here's an opportunity to cut our budget. Because if we don't need those hours because we don't think they're good, then why don't we cut them out of the day? Why don't we lower our budget? We keep getting asked by people to lower our budget. Here's an opportunity. We say we don't need it.
That won't lower your budget.
No, I'm saying cut those hours. Don't put them in somewhere else. Don't put them somewhere else. Say goodbye to them. Say goodbye to them. That's what I would propose doing. It's fine if you don't want to work evening hours, but I think it makes sense to me to get that budget savings and lock it in. Because if we're saying it's not a good use of time, then why do we need it somewhere else?
But we still need to pay those people one salary. And you're gonna lose a part-time or another clerk if you cut hours. So it's not a budget saving. It'd probably be a budget cost in the long run.
So again, one of the things that we are trying to get out there as far as the car registrations is the 4 months in advance that people can do it. Because if it's a time constraint, I would hope that in 4 months you could figure out a period of time to come in or make an arrangement to either do it online or, well, you can't do it online 4 months in advance, but you can do it by the night drop. I mean, people call us all the time to get their fees early because we have the snowbirds. So the snowbirds all like to come in and do it before they leave. So it's car registration is not something that is, no time to it. There's plenty of time. It's just kind of trying to see if, the onus is really on a person to get their car registered in a timely fashion, which they have 4 months to do.
I'd also say the data sets that we have don't actually represent the people that need to come in Tuesday nights. I'm sure some of them do, but I can tell you right now, one of those numbers is me. And I work in the town office, but I just happened to run home and come back on a Tuesday evening while they were still there and register my car. So some people do. I mean, there's going to be some people out there, and I know Wendy works well with people to make sure that they can do what they need to do, but
I think one reason people like to come in person is you're very good at what you do. So they say, I'll just go there and it'll just happen.
I think the other data set we're missing is the number of people who weren't able to come and had a hardship. You're never going to capture that. So it's, you can say we're missing a data set here, but we're missing the flip side of the data.
yeah,
set.
we're not going to get good data.
Nope,
There's
you're
some
not.
people that can't come Tuesday night, and if it's the night we do it, they're struggling some other time. And like I said, I've had people come in and be extremely frustrated leaving because they took time off work to come in Tuesday morning. And we're not open Tuesday mornings. And so you're never gonna make everybody happy. And
Right.
I think adding 4 hours of time that the office is open, consistent town office hours, I went through every scenario in my head, and I think it's a really good level of service, and it also helps the employees be able to have a consistent work schedule as well.
So, can I just ask, specifically from registration, you also do dogs, I'm assuming, the vehicle, you do dogs. So, the dog warrant last year was a complete cluster, and then everybody was out of the office. And we had police officers who did a very nice job and were very gracious, showing up at people's house for like dead dogs and things like that. So that whole management piece, it's people don't read every email. There's too many emails out there. So are we going to be collecting emails and emailing every person with a dog? Is that going to happen? Or are we just going to hope they see it somewhere? Because these are all yes, you can do your dog at the same time if you do your registration, but can you do your dog a year in advance? Like if you have a May?
No,
can
you
do it
have,
the
you
following
can
year?
do them starting right after January 1st.
So there's no way to capture.
They're due by April 30th. We captured a ton of emails last year. I actually had Daisy go through some of the data that we have to make sure we pull it into the dog portion. And needless to say, during COVID, dogs were not a priority.
No.
People weren't going to other people's houses. You couldn't get into the vets. People fell behind on their rabies. We didn't expect it. So we had 2 years where we got behind on the dogs. In 2023, we started trying to capture dogs. We weren't even looking towards the previous 2 years on dogs. We were just trying to catch up. And then this past summer, we kind of went a little harder on dogs because now COVID's over. There's been a few years, so you should be able to get to the vets. And so we're already up to, I want to say it's like 120 dogs that we've registered this year. We do ask everybody as they come in. We start putting it on the renewal notices. It's going to start being on the kiosk thing, whatever it's called, out in front of the community building. Again, we always mention it at town meeting. We get it out there. And again, all those things are courtesies. The ultimate responsibility lies upon the dog owner. Your dog greets you every night when you get home from work. What more reminder you need that you got a dog?
Well, and last year was the first year since I've been here that we actually issued and enforced the warrant. So it had been since the beginning.
Right. And there was
a lot
serious data errors from mistakes that were made in the office. And so that.
Well, people change emails addresses and they don't necessarily go through and tell, everybody that has ever emailed them, their email address changes, so.
Daisy?
Hi, yes, I just wanted to point out that as far as with the proposition of cutting hours, for the town clerk's office, because we might not potentially be registering vehicles. A town clerk and, their assistant or deputy town clerk also processes things like vital statistics. We do a lot of election maintenance, a lot of data upkeep and just, town record upkeep. So that time that maybe somebody isn't registering a vehicle, we are also spent doing those things. We're spending our time doing those things for the town as well. And the residents as well.
Thank you. Good. Yeah, good.
All right, Wendy's gonna have my head, but I feel lied to. Is what I'm gonna say. We cut those evening hours because the town offices got moved across town. And there was a safety issue and it was dark, etc. And it was going to come when the new building came in and there's some safety, the library's open till 7. And so I think the boxes aren't even unpacked. So honestly, I feel that now it's being opportunistic and it feels being lied to. And there are a lot of people, it's not just the hospital, Hypertherm is shift work. Those folks, doesn't matter if it's 4 months in advance, have to then take a day off or time off out of hourly work. So if we're going to not do evening hours, the bank, I liked kind of what Alice said, provide Saturday hours. Banker's hours suck. I never can go to the bank. I have a very flexible schedule, but a lot of people can't get to the bank. And I do most of my banking online, but there's a whole lot of people that are not comfortable banking online. There's a whole lot of people that need to be able to see somebody and to only have banker's hours or that very strict, I feel like is a disservice to the town. I understand that I would like regular hours that stick with it, but I think that also the whole reason we got rid of those evening hours doesn't exist, and then we were told they were gonna come back. And now it's like, so honestly, I think that's, sorry.
Thank you, Lindsay. No, that's fair feedback. Thank you. Is there any other, oh, I see some hands up online. Nancy Smith, can you go ahead and unmute yourself and make your comment?
Wow.
That work?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Well, I guess Lindsay beat me to it. I think it's a service issue. We changed the hours that have been there forever. And when we moved over to the 4A and coming back, I think people expect it to be the same. And if you're going to change it, I think you need to collect a whole lot more data than you have, besides saying that a lot of people don't come in. I think the safety issue would be an issue, except that the library is open the same time. I think we need to provide services to people. I heard a lot of folks complaining about it, even if they didn't deliver it to you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. Megan O, could you, yeah, I think that's Megan O'Brien. Could you unmute yourself and make a comment, please?
Yeah, this is Megan O'Brien. I agree with most of the people saying that, we all thought that this was going to be a temporary thing, and maybe we didn't hear complaints when these hours were changed because people knew it was going to be temporary only, and we're expecting it to come back once we move back to Enfield and not 4A Enfield Center area type La Salette. So I personally have almost always only used the after hours times due to my work schedule. It's the only time I can really get away. And for people to go in during the day, they would have to take a whole day off because we don't ever know how long it will take to do what needs to be done while you're there in the office. And as far as the dog registration goes, I had to go in to register my new foster dog, who I ended up adopting, because I never saw anything online to do it there. So is there a way to do it online as well? I know to re-register you can do it online, but for a brand new dog, do you have to be in person to do that?
What we've done is we've asked people to email to us a copy of the rabies certificate, which will show the rabies expiration date. Normally it also shows whether the animal is spayed or female, spayed or neutered, and also the tag number. Those are the things that we need. Once we have those, we can update the system, and then they can be done online, night drop, mail in, however you choose. I do want to clarify the whole thing about, we did not change the hours when we moved to La Salette. The hours were changed in October, when it was down to just myself working. And there was just one person, I can't do it all. So that's when the hours actually did change.
All right. Is there any other comments on this topic? Thank you, Wendy, for coming in. Words of feedback. Appreciate you coming and talking to everybody and listening to all the comments.
And I just,
Good
can
to think about.
I just say one more thing?
Yep.
So when I came in last time in October, or I guess it was November, it was right before, November 4th, it was the night before the election. I remember it well. One of the things I had asked was that people to communicate to me. And again, I had asked that the public communicate with me. So again, I'm still happy to field what people's concerns are.
Yeah.
And if they contact me about a situation they have, I mean, we try to figure out the best way to get something done, and I'm still willing to do that. So, and remember that next week is town meeting.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I will, thank you very much for that. I will say, one time, because I couldn't make it into the office during business hours, Julie came to my house at like 8:30 at night to conduct business. So there are
ways around it for people who cannot get there during business hours.
David, one last comment?
I want to echo thanks to you, Wendy. I mean, as an old guy that's not super tech savvy, I use your in-person services most of the time. And, I certainly appreciate it. Yeah. Got more flexibility in schedule than a lot of people do. But, and come back the next day if I forget that it's gonna close, then. You know, I think it's a balance between service and what you're able to accomplish, with the timeframe. And I don't know what exactly the right balance is. Had used, when I was working, your, evening hours quite a bit. And haven't needed to recently. I've never used the Dropbox. And I'm not sure I would trust it. Seriously.
It is a very secure box.
I know. I don't trust any Dropbox.
Yeah.
All right. All right. This has been good. Thank you for
All right.
coming in and seeking input from everybody.
Thank you.
And, we've got some things to consider. All right, moving on.
Well, do we need to do anything about this?
No,
at this
there's
point?
nothing we can do. She
No, no,
either
no.
listens or.
No.
No,
Yeah, it's a clerk decision.
This is
I
a,
want to get feedback.
right, this is a public discussion of it, but it's, in the end, it's the town clerk's legal purview to set the hours.
Very good.
All right,
Thank you.
town meeting discussion. So we have the draft town meeting ripped in front of us, that we need to just run through and make sure we've got everything looking prepared.
Obviously, there's some blank spots where who's going to present
Right.
this has to be decided.
Yeah, those are the sort of informal decisions.
I'll leave the pledge.
Sorry, what did you say?
Who's gonna lead the pledge?
That's a good question.
So we can just go through. The first page is just the cover slide, and then page 2. Ultimately, that's your decision,
To lead or
or
not.
to have, or to lead, or,
It's not my decision to have, it's
Okay.
your all's. You set
Okay.
the agenda.
okay,
It's never been on the agenda.
okay,
You technically set the agenda.
Yeah.
I am
Okay.
not.
it was voted on at the last town meeting to have it.
It was also, remember, no town meeting can
Yep.
set the agenda
Yep.
or rules for another town meeting.
Correct,
So,
correct,
but it's up to you all.
Right.
I will not lead it or say it.
Yep.
So,
and that's,
so that's why there's a blank space there.
Yep.
You know, and
We
so.
need to have a select board vote on whether we want this or not.
I think we should discuss it.
it's our agenda, so yeah, so we can decide whether or not to have it or not. There was an unbinding vote at the last town meeting, indicating the town meeting would like us to
Mhm.
have it.
Communicating the people at that town meeting
Correct.
Mhm.
who were left
Who had it
after
left,
5
yeah.
hours.
So it's gonna be an annual thing, even if it happens?
No, so you all set the agenda. It's not up to the body to set the agenda. It cannot be, I looked all of that up. You all set the agenda. It's never been on the agenda. It's either been done at the discretion of the moderator. Last year, the truth is, it said not at the discretion of the moderator, so that's fine. And technically, you all set the agenda. Like, it's just never been on it. Because we never asked to take it off. And so it's always been done at the discretion of the moderator. That, a non-binding warrant article that, was really, yeah. So anyways,
It's already been printed, is that right?
no,
No,
This is just strictly for you.
Okay.
These slides will be presented at town
Yeah.
meeting to show people.
So you didn't,
articles
you didn't
on the
forward it
screen.
and have it printed in the town report?
Oh, no.
No, these are slides.
see, these are the slides of things that would be up, so.
Right.
For me,
All of this can change.
yeah, so again, you all, like, the agenda for this tonight was set
for you all, and nobody votes on it. Like, we don't vote on the agenda at town meeting. The body cannot, they can move warrant articles around by a vote, but they can't add things to the agenda. So anyways, it's up to you, and I think you should have a discussion about it.
What is the,
I think it's a slippery slope to add non-binding things to. And I know people feel very strongly, and I think they could absolutely gather as a little happy group and have their pledge and do it. Somebody could sing Simple Gifts, which is more Enfield pertinent, because at the end of the day, this is an Enfield meeting to me. This is a national thing that some people like to do, but I don't think it has a place in our town. As a compulsory kind of singling people out. If you want to stand there and say the pledge, it's kind of like praying to me. I guess my very religious view on this, because I am a religious person, is that I don't pledge allegiance to a flag. I pledge allegiance to the God I believe in. So I find it morally.
okay. Other, views of the board?
I was gonna say something worse, but yes, that's very nice of you.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Katie on this matter.
Okay.
I tend to agree. I feel like, is it compulsory? Is it not? Then it begins to feel divisive and like, let's just get on with the business of the day.
Yeah, get on with the business.
Okay.
Get on with the business.
So the consensus is just remove this slide and
Yeah.
it'll remain at the discretion of moderator.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Public comment. Dan Regan, I respectfully disagree with the select board on this. I do pledge allegiance to that flag. And we did have a vote at the last meeting. Yes, there are only a few people left. That's the process we have in place, and we should live by the process.
Thank you, Dan. All right, what is labeled slide 3, remembering who we lost? Do we need someone to,
I would be very happy to read that. Barbara Dowen to church with us for a long time. Unless someone wants it. Like
well,
it doesn't have to be fully read, right? But we could just say we acknowledge Barbara Dowen.
yeah, no, I mean, it says invite select board, so somebody has to.
Well, okay,
Yeah, so we need a name for,
okay, I'll do it.
to be down there. So no, if you want to leave that, that'd be great.
I'd love to.
Do we choose to remember as a member?
What do you mean?
I just said the select board may choose to also remember other
Oh.
community members. Like, is that a thing? I
Well,
don't know, like, forget.
I think we went through the obituary list to try to find who had office already before we did
Okay.
the annual report. And that's how we found Barbara.
Right, that other note that's there is strictly really for you. These notes
Yeah.
are really just for you guys.
Some of
This
these
is
appear
not,
every-
those aren't gonna be projected, only the slide above.
Yeah.
Just said like, and
But
others.
Yeah.
Occasionally, the select board chooses somebody who
Right.
passed away early in the 2020 or the current year,
Mhm.
even though they won't show up in the town report until.
Yeah.
Follow.
Yes, and a lot of these comments
You're just right.
under the slides remain, you'll see them every single year.
Mhm.
And, okay.
Can I
Yep.
just ask a question on that? So in regards to what you just said about somebody who passed away earlier in 2025, in particular, Jimmy Proctor comes to
yeah.
note, right? I mean, that was a very big loss for our community. I don't know if he held public office, he may very well have.
Not
But
that I am
I
aware.
feel like he was a public office in his own building. So we might, I mean, I don't know if it's fair to mention him or if we leave it for another year or he didn't hold public office and we don't.
I'd say it's the select.
No, I kind of wanted to throw it out to you guys and maybe think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have no objections to honoring people who were prominent and did good work within the community in many facets.
Okay.
More than the judgment call. We wanna add a slide for Jimmy?
I don't really.
We can just say it out loud.
Okay.
Is that okay?
It's fine with me, as long as it's, the rest of the board agrees with that consensus and
You guys okay with that?
it's fine.
Just add it to the other After Barbara's or.
Someone might have to-
However you choose to phrase it. Fine.
Save my memory.
All right, recognition of volunteers.
Do you want me to just do it while I'm already up there?
You're gonna be seated.
Oh, or I'm sorry, or it might, okay, let's change this. Well, they remember to turn
Coming
my
up there.
microphone on, because we know turning microphones on is an issue. Would you like me to just do this one? I'm not saying I have to.
I don't think we need to read all the names.
Generally, what you've done is just the slide goes up
Right.
and then
Says the-
somebody says,
Yeah.
What it
yes,
is.
thank you
No,
for
yeah, you
the
just did that.
Exactly,
volunteers. Yeah.
just say the description. Exactly, that's all we've
That's why I
done.
was wondering if.
In the past, that's all we've
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
And you don't have to say it word for word. This is
No.
kind of the.
No,
basic script, so.
That's why I was saying, like,
But-
this slide and then you hit this slide.
yeah,
and then
that's all we've done.
No ad-libbing.
So is Kate gonna be the one?
Did you want
I don't know, did you volunteer?
I said I would do it,
No,
so
I'll
it was
do
like
it.
bang, bang. or
If not, I'll do the volunteer slide if you want.
Okay.
If you turn the
Tracy?
microphone on.
I'll do the volunteer slide.
I think it'd be better for someone. that's-
No, it's, I think that's
Yeah,
good, as long
kind
as.
of bounce around.
No comment.
That's actually,
The next couple of pages are just the results of the articles that are voted by ballot each.
Which I will read.
right.
And we'll find
Article
out.
2, we don't have to read Article 2 and have the seconding and all that, that can go away. And the moderator is not in the nature of that, the fun article. Okay.
So it's really at Article 6 that
Article
we
6.
need to start. Who should start the?
So she already put some volunteers.
I just randomly.
No, she did the, but somebody has to speak to the article.
Yes.
That's the piece. Unless somebody objects to the moving and seconding, those have been assigned, but who
That,
will speak to
I
it?
volunteer, Jim. It's Article 6,
Yeah,
isn't it?
is Jim gonna be there to speak to that?
As long as they don't say your non-residents can't speak. And then I say be pented to Ed if non-residents can't speak for some reason.
Well, we'll vote on that at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming they've
and-
never said no, but
Yeah, I mean, he's the best person to speak to what that is.
Yeah.
As if he's gonna be there.
Jim Taylor, to be fair to everybody, sorry.
Yeah, I'll put myself on there too. So
Back up.
The two of us will work together to make that happen.
And then Article 7, the watershed management plan for Crystal Lake.
Can do that unless one of the select boards wants to start it out and I can play backup.
I think it makes more sense to just have you do it. You know what it is.
Yeah, that's, yep. All right, and then the budget will be Dimitri. Then, it looks like Dan has been volunteered to do the CIP.
He has been volunteers. He'll be back. I'm assuming. Did we confirm? He's some travel.
He'll do this one.
Yeah.
But this will be the end of it.
Right.
Just didn't know if we.
I will email him and confirm.
Yeah.
He normally does, but I think he makes a point of being back, but I just thought it should.
How long has Dan been on CIP?
Long time.
Long time.
Okay.
Yeah, 15+ years. Long.
I'm just thinking
Yeah.
like, if it's gonna be the last one that he does, we never got a chance, I don't think, did we ever think Lee Carrier when he was doing it? I don't know, anyways.
Do we really
I-
like
I-
to retire?
And I don't know that this is his last year, it's his last term.
Her, or
So he
Carrie.
he may have another year.
I think this is it.
This is Dan's last, it's the end of his.
If we don't thank him, then
Term
we
on
can
this.
find a way to not let him quit.
I've spoken to him about it. He
Yeah.
may attend a meeting or two, but he won't chair it.
That's fair.
Oh, not charities.
But you can confirm with Dan that he'll do this year's.
I will confirm with Dan that he'll do this.
That Elisa.
Yeah, Elisa will come.
Elisa will
She'll be
confirm,
here and
yeah.
if not, we'll reach
Okay,
out.
Elisa, you'll confirm that he'll do this?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, so Article 10 and 11.
If for some reason Dan's out of town, then I'll take care of it.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
Dan will be here.
I know he will. I can throw that out
That's a
because,
courtesy.
because it's enough.
He's not here.
That's nice.
It's a non-volunteer volunteer.
I like the volunteer.
At least, there you go. At least you're like out on the front with it.
That can't make it, I'll cover his stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's awesome, Alex.
Challenge.
Yeah, right, like don't tempt the universe here.
Since Article 10 and 11 are so tied together, it seemed to make sense to have them presented kind of together.
Yeah.
When we've done it in the past with other things.
So who's gonna do Article 10?
I can. I mean, I can explain it or
One of us can do it. I mean,
I
it
say either of
doesn't
us
have
can.
to all be you, Kate.
Yeah, if you have your microphone on for the second, why don't you do it? Is that?
No, I'm just saying we can,
The mics will go on and off. And
Yeah.
there'll be
Oh,
a-
listen, I'm very sensitive to the mics not coming on when everyone's yelling and I'm like, listen, my
Right.
microphone is not on. I can project to the gym. You just don't want me to yell in the microphone.
So who's doing?
is there somebody who would like to do 10 and 11? I mean, I can do 10 and 11 if others don't want to.
I don't think that's gonna work.
Is that a real volunteerism or a
Yeah,
non-volunteer
No,
volunteer?
that's what I can do it.
Okay,
Because remember, there's other ones coming up, so.
Ooh, strategic.
Alright. Article 12 is the SB2 petition warrant article. Have you confirmed with Deb that she'll,
No, I kind of made an assumption.
okay,
I'll confirm with her.
okay. And if you want a select board member to just introduce it and then invite Deb, I can do that.
Mhm.
But I don't know that,
I don't know that that's.
I don't know that's
necessary.
necessary.
We haven't done it in the past when there's. a
I'll
petition
just
article.
read it and invite them
Okay,
up.
that's
it's a petition article.
That's
so-
what we did last year
Yeah,
and the year
no, I
before.
think that's a good approach.
Eric just he's batting cleanup, just in case.
There you go.
All right, and then 13, which starts the different, there's several of them now with
So I didn't know if it
Example.
would make sense to present 13, 14, 15, and 16, since they're all similar.
I think the initial presentation where because part of it should include, we sort of come up with this plan to do it every 5 years with the reevaluation of the town, and this is sort of the general formula to try to keep the value of the pension steady over time. That really only needs to be explained once at the beginning. Even if the details of the individual article are different.
I think if we needed to give further explanation after the article is read, we could clarify, offer clarifying points, but I think
we
do it
can
all
do
together.
them together, yeah.
Okay.
It would be good just to do one presentation and we can roll through this.
I like
whole
it.
Article.
Mhm.
3 articles.
Who would like to,
Are they all, hand count votes, those 4 articles? Are they ballot
Voice
votes?
vote and hand count. They don't have to be paper ballots.
That's just always a consideration. If they're paper ballots, there's a big break, so sometimes
the only paper ballots,
are the beginning ones.
well, and the SPT,
And that's.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the bonds and the SPT.
Okay.
Would someone like to take on 13, 14, 15, sorry,
I'll do it if somebody writes me that. I can try, I mean, you did such a good job. I can look back at the explanation was given during the meeting too, but I would appreciate it.
The only one that's a little different is 16,
Mhm.
because we don't already have it,
Yeah,
but that could be explained,
Mhm.
because all the
Right.
dollar amounts
Mhm.
kind of tie in.
You guys always write me a nice explanation. I'll do it if no one else wants it.
okay,
We probably have it in the warrant narrative.
Oh, probably, yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
So look at that and put something together, and if you need help, I can go through it
Okay.
and provide some more of my documents, but most of it was on that select board memo.
yeah, usually it arrives on the bottom of our slides and I'm very happy about it.
So you're doing these.
Yeah, I can do that.
So we don't need to invite anybody important.
And if I flub it up, you can correct me. Ed's batting clean.
Just to have my notes.
Okay, so we get to jump to Article 17. We
Tim Quirk is gonna do 17 and 18.
Do we know of anybody who's coming in for something at the end of the meeting for 19?
No, I have not been contacted by anybody.
Say whatever you want.
Go home.
Does anybody?
Done.
All right, so it's done.
Put dinner that night.
Oh.
So before we, just a couple of reminders for you all. Set up on Sunday. Tracy, are you gonna, he's very good at that. So if anyone else, do you have a time that works for you?
I will do 9 o'clock on
9.
Sunday.
Okay.
And Ed, would you remind, that we'll break down on Wednesday,
Mhm.
first thing again.
Yeah.
That's worked out so well to have a couple of the town guys. They've actually almost got it down to a routine themselves.
Yeah, so we'll break down with DPW.
Yes.
Okay, and so we'll need to just verify with, I can do that, verify with
Well, Ed can touch base
with
with Jim. It's his guys.
Eric. What's his? Kevin. I was like, I'm missing a name here. Just, I think we have the building, but there was one time.
Yeah.
Last year, maybe it was just last year, this after we didn't have the building, and so I think the yoga or Bone Builders group
Yeah, I don't know.
moved stuff, and so I don't want, I don't want that.
I think we're all set.
I think we're all set, so just that we
Maybe
have.
just writing to the regular.
Yeah.
day,
Through
like,
Wednesday.
reminder.
They're planning not to be there.
Okay, yeah, I just like felt bad that one time, and
Yeah,
then
it's a bummer.
stuff got moved, and that can be dangerous, so, all right. So 9 a.m.
Looking for another volunteer?
Sure, if you want to help.
Sure, 9 o'clock.
So 9 a.m. on Sunday. Great, and I'll check with a couple people that do, but
Yeah.
if anyone else is available, we get it done quick. With that, I hope to see we should have a quorum all day at any point on Tuesday. If anyone has other meetings and things that you need to take, that's fine. But we should have a quorum there throughout the day. We may not have to stay all day. It tends to be a little bit slower.
Mhm.
The main things is that both Eric and I cannot touch completed ballots. So the other 4 of you will be responsible. One of you will have to be at the ballot box the whole time.
Yeah.
And then when it does come down, we need all hands on deck counting everything. The town ballot is 4 sides, 2 pages. And the school ballot is one page double sided. So there's gonna be a lot of paper, just volume of paper. So we'll get everything sorted, and then Eric and I can work on school ballots, because we're not on that, but we can't touch, or should not.
Is that something new?
No, we've always done that. I've like, just that if you're on the ballot, you shouldn't be involved in the verifying.
you're
of
on the
those.
ballot.
It's because he's
So,
on the ballot.
on the ballot, yeah. So that's all. So we work on the school ones, yeah, so that just if we have all hands on deck, like you all will be in charge, and John Carr will lead reading the results and that kind of stuff. So,
Makes sense.
but that way also, it's a little bit better if Eric's not at the ballot box, just optically. So.
I'll be there all
So
day.
keep the kitchen clean.
Yeah, and then, so I'm working on food. I think if I didn't make Wendy mad, she's gonna still make a soup. So we'll look for some other things, and there'll probably be pizza for dinner and donuts for breakfast, and if anybody else wants to bring in. So Kate and I usually do
Yeah,
a little
probably
talking.
something.
But beyond that, that's obviously, and then everybody will have their roles on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And are we setting, are we doing setup Friday evening?
I take care of that.
Take care of that? Okay.
It's all set.
Sometimes we come and help the chairs, but.
You don't, we have the temp
crew.
crew. They can set up chairs.
Okay,
And
great.
basically it'll just be set up the way it's always been set up.
Are the Lions gonna do food?
I have not
Have you heard
heard
from them? Okay, I think they
but
make the
we
assumption that they're
so.
going to. So we'll find out on Saturday morning.
Haven't seen them post anything.
Yeah, sometimes they
They're-
do and don't.
Except they're not doing the takeout, the dinner.
They're not doing
They're
the
doing
leopard,
takeout
the,
only.
They're doing it only as a takeout.
And I think somewhere along the lines, the
Just,
Lions lost control of their.
well, it's lost a lack of volunteers again.
All right, so
No,
those are the basic logistics. Hopefully we'll have everybody there all day, but obviously you could take some breaks, but I should have a basic quorum. I think I'm gonna be posting, or I'll be sending it to the clerk or through, Elisa, I'm trying not to use my personal email. I will update everybody about the changes in voting, laws. It's just ID laws. So there's a lot of kind of misinformation happening.
Same
And
thing, registration for new registrants
They-
downstairs?
nope, it'll be upstairs.
Do it
We will
upstairs.
not use the downstairs
Okay.
this time. Yeah, so they'll be upstairs. We'll put them by the coffee machine. We're not setting up the accessible tent because we don't have the tablet. So that'll be a piece we don't have to miss. There's a few clarifications. The biggest one is you have to have a photo ID in order to get a ballot. Although they're now saying you can still vouch for somebody, but they don't fill out an affidavit.
Is that's a state and that's federal, that's state,
It's town,
but
town,
they can tell us how to run our own election.
town, yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, Secretary of State. So, and then registration, there were some changes there, but basically only it's not gonna impact most people. So the main rumor is that you have to have your birth certificate with you to come. You don't, only if you're registering. So, and most people were, we do get a lot of people registering to vote, but there's a complications there. So I'll put out something to hopefully clarify. Okay? Yay, see you all.
Yeah.
Some of you Sunday, all of you Tuesday.
Yep. Reminded everybody, voting on Tuesday and then deliberative session on Saturday.
And
Yes.
the hours for voting, just again for the public.
8 to 7, 8 AM, 7 PM.
And
Nope.
town meeting is 9
I've
AM.
always been that.
No,
Oh.
but we've had somebody show up towards 8 before, so.
We get some folks that are lingering there at 6,
Yeah.
7, so yeah, so 8 AM to 7 PM. It's
You
11
have the
hours.
common code to the community building.
If
You were
it
gonna
hasn't
change it, but I
changed.
don't know if you did.
It probably
Changed
has.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Somebody texted to me. Well, Wendy won't be there on Sunday, so I need it.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody texted to me. Any other questions for me?
Nope.
No,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Tomorrow's Mardi Gras. Is it longtemps? Is it longtemps
Thank you.
today?
I should be back in New Orleans by then.
Okay. I gotta go make some beignet.
I'm making pancakes.
There you go. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks.
All right. Next up is the City Hall grand opening.
Yay.
As the punch list gets shorter and shorter, it's time to
Yeah,
do the
it's,
grand opening.
something we'd wanted to do a official grand opening. We've been in for a little bit. They're still doing some work on the building, but I'd like to get this done sometime. We were looking April, but even the April-May timeframe, I think would be good. I'd like to plan it so we can have the grand opening prior to the grand opening of the public safety building, which will be later this summer, but I just wanted to start talking with the select board about dates. I had thrown a couple earlier April dates to the library trustees. I think the 6th might be a little early, and talking with some people, the 12th is the start of school break.
Yeah.
It may be something we want to kick a little bit farther down, and I can talk with the trustees about that as well.
I just want
I
to
have
be sure
one-
that, I'm sorry, John.
I have one question. Can we have a grand opening before the elevator is working?
Thank you.
I don't think we can, but that should be up and operational soon.
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I'd also.
I mean,
I wanna
everything
see
has
the-
to be
and the
functional.
Stairs need to look done.
Yeah.
So that people don't feel they're walking into the middle of a construction zone.
The stairs,
That's my second point.
the stairs looked pretty
Will the
bad.
stairs be done, do you think?
I hope so, if we're looking at that. I mean, they should be done any time now, but I can't vouch for the subcontractor.
I'm not sure we can pick a date until those two issues are
Why don't we pick a date and
confidently resolved.
why don't we pick a couple dates and then move it if we have to, like a date and a backup date?
Yeah, I think we can start moving for something, especially if it's that far out. We wouldn't be advertising at this point, but I think we need some sort of target to start working toward.
Well, and one sort of basic question, do you want to try to do like a late afternoon, early evening? Or do you want to do a Saturday morning or, there's that question as well. You know, what time of day?
Well, and have the library trustees have a chance to talk about later in April?
Pardon me.
Have the library trustees had a chance to talk about a later date in April? Because it looked like you talked about the beginning of April, but that might be too soon, and then there's school vacation.
Well, that was the one thing we were wondering about too, if the elevator would be ready early. But if, like, it says you can pick a date and you can always, if we have an advertised, we can always change.
When is
I don't think the next weekend
December.
This summer.
would be good. It's Easter.
I know, isn't it?
That
Well, that's pretty
Easter.
late.
I don't think that would be good.
Oh, old.
Yeah, so the 12th to the 20th is the school vacation.
Yep.
So to my mind, those are not
Oh,
2 poor weekends.
wait, no, I don't think it is though. The school calendar is showing,
No, it's the 12th to the 20th.
It is.
is there,
If not, I bought plane tickets for the
oh,
12th
no, it's the, I don't mind me. It's, no, it's the lines and the lady who can't see.
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry, I'm not trying to judge you. I'm like,
I know a teacher that won't be there.
And the 20th.
No, that's me not being able to read the calendar. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll be out of town that week. So, so if you're looking at April and you're looking at a weekend, it's either the 5th, 6th, which sounds like it's too soon. Or the 26th, 27th. The planning board would like to use that room if it's open on the 26th.
So maybe we push into early May or.
is a weekday bad?
No, I'm simply running through.
Yeah.
What it is. If you were to do a weekday, the 21st to the 25th would be the
Mm-hmm.
sort of the first practical week, I think.
When's Easter?
Easter is the 20th.
The 20th.
Yeah.
20th.
20th of Easter.
Yeah. What did we, when we did the grant, yeah, words are failing me. It wasn't the shop, we didn't have a shovel, we had a mallet. I don't know what we call that.
Yeah,
The grand.
Sledge.
Sledgehammer
walls.
day. Groundbreaking, that wasn't groundbreaking.
Yeah,
That was it.
it was a weekday evening.
And that worked relatively well, as long as we go late enough in the not like super late, but to give people an opportunity to come from their office on the way home. Was that like,
Yeah, but I'd like the kids to be involved, so that's why I'm leaning towards a Saturday, frankly.
Library's open on Saturdays.
Exactly. So I'm sort of glancing at April 26th at this point, if not into May.
Only day that doesn't work.
Well, and that's the day the planning board is scheduling an event for that day. They would love to use that third floor.
Or the
If it's,
museum too.
What
yeah,
time's the planning board event?
in the morning, probably 9 to
those people are gonna have,
9 to
who
noon.
participate
Nine
are
to
gonna be
noon.
the kind of people we want.
So an afternoon event of the 26th would work.
Well, the transition
A long
over to
day.
different events can get a little tricky.
Not only that, I think the people who participate
Right,
are also probably the folks who would come to
right,
that may be a pretty long day.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did the library talk about weekday versus weekends?
We're gonna be meeting Monday.
Can it be, oh, sorry,
Sorry, go ahead.
Turn your up.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Sorry, I was
We're trying
staring
to
at my
figure it out.
calendar, trying to look for
I was
dates.
just thinking, okay, the date you're talking about, the 26th, whatever, Saturday, can it be something fluid where come to this and this? I mean, your planning board thing, maybe you really want people there for a critical hour,
Mhm.
but they don't have to be there for longer.
Mhm.
So that it's not necessarily a whole day, it's
Yeah.
maybe like a 2-hour thing, that people can come to the, to see this is the library and the town office.
Mhm.
So they, the 2-hour span and in there, please, maybe it starts with the planning, board.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to do it, but
Mhm.
shortened version,
I assume we'd use the same meeting space though, right? Like,
Well, that's
if we're gonna set up refreshments, I would assume we would use the elevator to go up to the hall.
yeah, I mean, it's a solid idea to think about, but yeah, I think the logistics get a little challenging space wise.
What's the planning board planning?
They, are planning an input session around the HOP grant, the second HOP grant.
Sort of like what they did at the community building.
Yeah, and if Right, they can't do it unless the elevator's ready, and there's a few things that have to happen before that space can really hold a public meeting. So they would prefer to use Whitney Hall. However, the community building is the backup plan if for some reason. there's a
So we
delay.
need to have the AV in place.
What they're planning doesn't really require AV.
Audio, video
Yeah.
will not be in there. so-
Yeah, and that's not required for what the planning board is.
I don't know if he's late this year, maybe.
Does that mean this group won't meet there at all because there'll be no
Probably
AV?
not for a while.
Will it be in any room? Other than the library meeting room?
But May third would be a Saturday.
Upstairs anytime. We'll be working on that, but the auditorium upstairs is a special audio video system. Gonna have to be RSP'd out and engineered and constructed.
25th, it's a Friday.
Mhm.
Kids don't go to school on Saturday, so it wouldn't be like harmful for them to be out at like 5 or 6, I wouldn't think, if we really wanted to.
Are people gonna be at work?
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, in the evening, I don't know what time.
I wanna do an evening thing.
Well, yeah, so 5 probably isn't late enough, but like 6 or whatever.
You could do 6.
I don't know, I'm just throwing out a time for discussion.
I guess I don't know the library hours now, but we definitely want to overlap with,
Library hours, okay, you wanna make sure the staff is,
yeah, I mean, it seems like we want,
would they open
We
for
have to be
this?
flexible.
Closed on a Friday.
yes,
It's good being handled.
yeah, but if we're picking like a Thursday versus a Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right on the Saturday, the Friday night is
Well,
different.
Friday we're, but as I
Yeah,
said,
that's-
we'll be.
We need to be looking at
Yeah, go
that.
ahead, Sharon.
One of the things to consider, I was in the library, and one of the most beautiful things about the library, other than its open space, there's huge windows that
That's
look
fair.
out and there's light in the library.
That's a very
I
good
think
point.
if you're getting people in the library
Really ought to
for
be
the
a
first
daytime
time, you
thing.
want it during the day.
I think that's a really good
I like
point.
that.
Good point. Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah.
I think
By late April, it'll be getting like, you're late,
Yeah,
Well, not that late.
7 PM, something like
yeah,
that.
but it's a good, that's,
I think it ought to be a Saturday for that reason, quite frankly.
yeah. There's also that new meeting space on the third floor is the exact same way.
Yeah, it only presents itself well in the daytime.
Plus you can
daylight.
see our secret island. It's a great
Yeah,
view of our secret
I'd
island.
vote for day.
Okay.
So is May third sort of a decent target Saturday? That'd be,
That was my kid's birthday party, but I'll move her. I won't,
I could make a better birthday party than a grand opening for Whitney.
puppies, 20-something puppies, friend. No, I can move it. I think it's more important to do this. Maybe she could do the 10th. It's not her actual birthday. You just have to pick a weekend day. So if you want to do the third, we'll move it.
Third works for
I
me.
just haven't told her.
Charlie, we checked the library to see if May third could possibly work for them.
We'll be meeting Monday.
Awesome.
So tentatively, if we think about an early afternoon on May third, 1 o'clock type thing.
I think it could be anytime. Personally, mornings are easier and were always easier for me when I had kids.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
11 o'clock?
I guess I'm an oddball.
My child is
That's a
not
thought.
fun. Yeah, 11 wouldn't be terrible. Please
Yeah,
don't go
that's-
earlier.
Yeah,
With a 10, my 10.
Yeah, we were always out of town by then,
I'm with you on that.
but I'd say,
It's one of my days I don't have to fight her.
yeah, no, any time is I'm not gonna
And then probably,
argue with that.
I'm thinking probably a couple hours, 11 to 1, 11 to 2. something like that.
Yeah, I think we definitely want
That's
to,
all.
you have
Have like a
whatever the
formalized-
formal event is, but then, yeah, you want to have open house hours.
Yeah, 11 to 2,
Yeah.
make it a little flexible.
So how does that work for your staff though? Are you using salaried staff to show people spaces that we're,
We'll talk about it. I don't know how many staff will be there, but
because it's not normal hour.
we'll have a few people there maybe to guide some tours or something.
What
Might
is
be
the-
some select board volunteers.
What's Shirley, what's the capacity of the meeting room in the library?
I believe that's,
The
21.
corner, yeah, not much.
I just got the information on that because.
Yeah, I heard it the other day, but now I can't remember.
Yeah.
What did you hear?
I was told 20.
20?
And right now it's got a pretty small table if you were to ever add a
Yeah,
bigger
it's not,
table.
no, I'm not looking at a bigger table.
Well, I'm saying for a meeting, it's the problem.
Right, that's,
I haven't, all that topic aside, if you will. I think this group needs to be in that building before the end of the year. I think that's too late.
Yeah, we'll just have to look at it and move through a project. It's probably a 6-month project and we haven't kicked it off.
Understood. Therefore, I'd like to suggest that so many of our meetings are 20 or under, including us, that perhaps we could meet in the library.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. It's too small.
I mean,
It's
we're
way
close
smaller
right
than
now.
this room.
We probably hit
Oh,
that.
I know it is. I've been in
It's
it.
half the size of
It's
this.
half the size of this room.
yeah,
So where in that building can we meet?
Why do we have to? We have this building. It's not gonna burn.
I don't think it's appropriate for us to do an opening house and then not meet in the building until the end of the year. I think we should be in the building somewhere. That's my opinion. John, am I out of line on that? Tell me, please.
I'm with you sort of on an emotional basis,
Sure,
but
yeah.
practically, if it's not gonna work,
I already tried.
I understand that room is not large enough for any kind of decent meeting. That's what I've been told.
We wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think the sound, like, we could take this over on our meter tables, but then the sound is gonna be
But we can
garbage.
get tables and chairs easy, but yeah, you're gonna have sound problems in the bigger room.
Mhm.
You won't be able to do Teams or anything till it's all set up.
And I think if we do that, right, people just spent all this money and then they're like, wow, we can't hear you. It's already bad enough with the blower in here. I would rather get it right when we move in.
Yeah.
I wanna be there. Trust me,
Yeah,
I
no,
already
it's-
begged,
okay.
I already begged on it.
Okay,
It's
well,
on my list to get that RFP out, but
Yeah,
I
my
needed
big
to
didn't
know
work.
how much
Yeah.
money we had left to,
Yeah.
before I could.
I tried this, trust me.
yeah, that is one of those times where patience is hard.
Well, and I was like, can we have the drop down screen to go over the town drape? Like, I've asked a lot of these questions.
All right,
I wanted tables with the plugs in the middle.
Yes. Hey, there's a nice plug in the middle of the floor. At least we have one outlet.
all right. So Whitney Hall grand opening technically, tentatively scheduled for May 3rd, a few pending items, to be completed. Do that.
Wow.
All right, moving on to more. All right, solar exemptions, we have applications for four, I think it's 4 solar exemptions. The recommendation came back from Julie that they all meet the criteria for approval.
I make a motion that we approve the list of solar credit applications as recommended.
second.
The discussion?
My only discussion is whether you feel, and Melissa feels, it's necessary to give us all the backup materials. Do you think you need to give that to us? Because I don't need it.
No, you have it electronically and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Electronically, it makes.
Electronically is fine.
And
I
you'll
just
notice-
don't think it's necessary to duplicate it for us.
Yeah, and you'll notice she didn't, she only printed out the main
printed
pages
out
of the
the-
application.
Yes, and I can even.
This is
read that
significantly
off if
shorter
you
than-
want- if you
No,
just
no,
want the
yeah.
memo.
True, but I'm saying even that, you know,
My feeling, as long as we have the recommendation from Julie.
exactly. I trust the recommendation is all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, and then we read it in our email, and if you're like me and you couldn't get your
So-
email to open.
Yeah,
I only have one question. I probably ask this question every other year, I forget. These are people going for new solar exemptions, right?
yes.
Those of us who have had solar forever and a day,
You don't
it
have
just
to keep-
goes,
Right, this
keeps
is,
renewing automatically.
Yes, it's, so long as you own the property,
Yes.
it doesn't go to the next owner.
Yeah.
But it does apply to you so long as you own the property.
Mhm.
But these, I know from one of these people, they just put it in this
Okay.
past summer.
Can you give me just a real quick, what is a solar exemption?
oh, so the solar exemption, so I forget what RSA it is, but Enfield adopted an RSA where the value of a solar array is subtracted from the total value of the property. So if someone installs a solar array and it makes their property worth $10,000 more,
Yeah,
they're not taxed on that $10,000.
got it.
It's RSA.
Very similar to some
It's,
other.
it's added into the assessment and then removed.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right.
So it's there for the record.
Yeah.
Because if they sell the property, the next person accepts the higher assessment.
Okay.
It's
Thank you. I was-
72:62.
Yeah.
So it's indefinite.
72:52.
And if anybody has,
Only if the future buyer is accepted, they have to reapply. It's not automatic.
and if anybody with a solar array has a question of whether it's happening, it's right on the tax card. You'll see it written out as a line item on your tax card. So it's very easy to check if it's in there.
And any other questions, I can go to Julie
Yeah.
assessing and she can help.
Yeah,
them.
right.
So, yeah, but that's what it is. Yep, thank you. We often assume everyone knows what we're talking about.
Very fair.
It's a bad assumption. So thank you for asking.
Mhm.
All right. Veterans tax credits. Again, there's a list and a recommendation from.
Did we
Who
vote
they
on the
all meet
solar?
the
bond?
criteria?
No,
Need to vote on the
We
solar.
need to vote on the.
Oh, sorry. We did not vote on. Yep, go ahead. we got, you made a motion.
Kate made the motion.
Did you second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the veterans tax credits, similar situation. They've all been reviewed and. the
I would make a motion to, on my list, grant the list of veterans tax credits as recommended.
Second. Well, John, second.
Is there any
Gosh, that
discussion?
was hard.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then there is the acceptance of a donation to the Community Nursing Fund in the amount of $2,000.
Make a motion to accept this donation of $2,000 from GeoCon with thanks.
second,
Discussion?
With gratitude.
yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Oh,
you should go.
you know, I.
All right, that's, complete the business.
Oh, my goodness.
Evening, and you're on to public comment. Is there any comments from the public? Not on the agenda. David?
Just a reminder that tomorrow evening at the community building, there's a candidates forum, 11 candidates, will be represented and participating there.
Thank you.
What time is that? 7?
7 to 8:30.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for organizing that. Any other public comments? Go ahead, Chris.
Question regarding one of the warrant articles.
Mhm.
It's the watersheds, Mascoma watershed study.
Mhm.
I'm just concerned regarding funding of that. To the 11 posted somewhere on the website, I got it through a link. That on the different federal grants that they're concerned about the funding coming through. And one of them, there was a list of like 10 of their grants that projects, I should say, that they have that are receiving federal money to help offset the cost. And on the list that they sent, there was 2 that were flagged and one of them that were, under the picture, clean water SRF.
I've
loan.
just become Alice Kennedy.
Okay, let's listen to Kurt for the moment. We'll sort that out.
Sorry, Kurt.
It's all right.
Okay, all right.
2 of the grants,
Depending on what it is.
2 of the projects that they applied for and are expecting loans from the New Hampshire Clean Water.
Certificate of posting.
So let's let Kurt make his comment. Please. Go ahead, Kurt.
I'll fix
And they described the project that they're doing, and then then they state if funding stops, city would be on the hook through contractors. Basically, and that was for the other side of the deal. Basically, my understanding is it's reimbursements for Enfield, or how these grants work.
Yeah.
And I'm just concerned that if that warrant article passes, the town applies, starts the project, hires a contractor, starts the project, and then the feds say, well, sorry, we're not gonna give you the money. We're stuck.
do.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit when we went through it. It's something that we'll continue to watch and, you know, if that stops before we move forward, it's definitely something we would do, but I mean, any federal grant we take, I guess there's always that possibility. Like we never thought about it before. Everything else has been funded.
Yeah, I mean, the
But-
past really can't,
I think
it face,
we need to
future
continue
earnings
to.
are not based on past performance, I guess.
No, but we
That
need,
situation.
it's something,
changed,
it's
yeah.
something we need to continue to watch on all of our grants. I mean, we have the highway grant, the trail on 4A. We have a few of those that we're keeping an eye on, but at this point, I think that's what it is something to keep an eye on. And
Mhm.
I would hate to delay a vote or not move forward on a project because we're afraid of that. I think as we move forward, we make that decision when it's time to take out the loan or take out the money.
I think there's certain areas that are more vulnerable than other areas.
Yeah.
I think, you know, for example, environmental things have a greater chance of being unfunded this year.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk with them, you know, as we get closer, and I can make a phone call this week if we want to, but, you know, some of these funds that go through the state, some of them are funded by the federal after we get them, and some of them are given to you and the state already has the money in hand. So it would be
Right,
determining which way this grant goes, what's moving
Yeah.
forward.
And I would be worried not as much about the funding won't ever come, because I think you could probably argue that if there's no one in place to make the payments. I'm more worried about there not being, like, you go to submit your proof to get your reimbursement. That's, I think, one of the primary risks I'm concerned about.
Seeing the SRF program runs through the state on
Yeah.
that side of things, so.
Right.
Thank goodness.
I just become.
Kurt, I'm very
concerned about
sorry,
grants
I
Going back.
was making a fuss
From
here,
the states.
but you are absolutely, good thing to
It's
bring
already
up.
been
Yes.
mentioned.
Yeah, it's just,
Okay.
like I
David,
said, the city of Lebanon is like,
Yeah.
quit flagging these
Yeah.
as potential problems.
yeah, but this, just for clarity, so this is paid, the actual administration is through the state, right, it's through the state DES, it's not federal workers who administer the funds.
It's federal funding.
Right, so it's federal funding, and we would know ahead of time, before signing any loan, whether those funds have been transferred to the state already or not.
Yeah.
Right.
So we would have,
And the application period
Right.
is open in May of this year moving forward, so there's still quite a bit of time between now and when the grant
right,
would go into effect.
right,
So, I mean, it's definitely something to look about. We'll know a little bit more about the landscape instead of doing I'm gonna call it a knee-jerk reaction to what has happened over the last month or so.
right.
I think we just have to keep asking these risk management
Yeah,
questions.
and if we don't authorize it, we can't even apply.
Right.
No, I understand that.
Right.
It's-
Right, but applying that, I mean, there's also possibilities that, right, we don't get the grant. They're like, if they totally just completely canceled it, it would just, right, it wouldn't exist to apply for. So there's a lot of different paths that we need to think through. David, do you have any comment?
Well, two things. First, the state certainly has expressed concerns up to and including the governor about the impacts of federal funding and state
Yeah.
funding and therefore pass-throughs. So I think it behooves the town to be making contingency plans regarding any grant that has any federal bill.
Yeah, I think the contingency plan here would
Images
be,
are all on the
would be that
back
it just doesn't happen.
each of the
If it
tags.
doesn't, I mean, that'd be my default thought.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
Well, we need to have the approval of the town to move forward.
Correct.
It's very important to have that.
Correct. This is a step along the path and there's many steps. And if we don't take this one, then
And
Then we
there's
don't have the
actually two of
opportunity
those
to-
that's in there, because the water vote's the same thing. It's on SRF
Yeah,
loan.
yeah.
right,
Yeah, and I think we need to just keep explaining to people that one of our duties is, as a town, is to watch out for those risk
Right.
management components, and that we are very aware of them, and that we're going to continue to do that due diligence work, because we can't stop.
You missed one here.
Did I miss one?
No,
No, I think I'm.
Question, just curiosity question. I haven't heard any real discussion on what's gonna happen to the old firehouse on which street is that, Union Street?
yeah,
basically, at sometime in I forget if it was October, November, December.
Yeah.
We had a discussion of it, and the basic consensus of the board then was that we would take steps towards selling that as surplus property. And no steps have been taken because we're not moved out of it. It's a long way.
Yeah.
But that was the consensus of the board,
There's been,
was to move forward with
yeah,
planning for the disposition of that property.
something similar to what we did with Shed Street.
There's a lot of there were different ideas around what that would mean, but the idea was to sell the property. Yeah, and then there was discussion on what that would mean, so. Any other,
No place for signature on this page.
seeing none, any other business to come to the board that
I think it's on the back
is
again.
not on the
Back again, I don't know.
Mhm. Or did I accidentally like stick it? The stickers were flying too.
So
I'm gonna owe some apologize.
being public comment done and no other business, I would,
The motion to adjourn.
okay,
Sorry.
yep, that's what I was looking for. Right, discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Good meeting. We are adjourned.
Look at that.